In this upcoming 2025 federal election, how representative are the politicians who are actually running? I'm Dr. Elise Stephenson. I'm the Deputy Director of the Global Institute for Women's Leadership. And we've spent time trying to unpack that question, trying to understand how many women and men, trans and non-binary people, and people of other sorts of demographic diversity are actually running in our federal election. Now, you might have heard of the term glass ceiling before, but what about glass cliff? In our research, we use the term glass cliff seats to refer to those seats that are risky or precarious or perhaps even downright unwinnable. The glass cliff term is based off decades of research that describes how women, gender minorities, and other minoritized groups are more likely to be appointed to leadership in times of crisis or where there is a high degree of risk. We looked at 591 candidates and looked at their gender, their party, and the seat that they were running for, and we compared that to see what were the major differences across parties. When you take a first glance at the data, it looks roughly even, so women represent about 45% of all candidates and men are about 55%. However, when you drill into the data, that's when it gets really interesting. When we looked at the parties, we found a stark difference in terms of gender representation. But we also found that women were much more likely to be presented in glass cliff seats. Coalition women continue to face the steepest challenges, representing only 32% of all candidates running in the 2025 election, which admittedly is 3 percentage points higher than the previous election at 29%. However, it still means that the coalition is running 2 times as many men as women in this upcoming election. On top of that, of all of the coalition women who are running, 84% are running in glass cliff or risky and precarious seats. Labor women are faring a little bit better. They represent 56% of all candidates, which is a 10 percentage point increase since last election when they were running as 46% of all Labor candidates. Yet gender disparities still exist, so 50% of all women Labor candidates are running in glass cliff seats as opposed to 43% of men doing just the same. This election definitely brings progress when it comes to gender and other forms of diversity amongst our candidates who are running for election. However, for both the major parties, we are still seeing a huge issue when it comes to women being placed in seats that are more precarious, more risky, and otherwise glass cliffs. This is a major and persistent issue that we need to address to become a truly representative democracy. In essence, it doesn't matter how many women are running for election if they're not being placed in seats that they can actually win.